Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Kenny Smith will interview for the Pistons job. Would you ever leave television, Tony?
I'm Tony Corner, as you know. But how does this sound? Charles, Ernie, Shaq, and Tony. Huh?
Oh, Frankie Ice. I told you Tony would leave. Come on down. That chair could be open.
Let me be straight about this. Jimmy Pitaro, if you're watching, I'm just kidding. I would never leave. Never leave.
I just extended the offer to Isola. What are you talking about?
Never leave. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Braden Holtby's save, Conference USA's intriguing new schedule, and our championship rings overrated. But we begin today with Game 1 of the NBA Finals, scheduled to tip in Oakland in a few hours. The preponderance of opinion holds that Golden State is a far superior team to Cleveland. Wilbon, you are there. If LeBron James leads this Cleveland team to the championship, what would it mean for his place in the history of the game?
Well, Tony, that will depend on who's assessing history, who's writing history. It would certainly, to me, be the greatest single-year playoff run ever, of anybody, single year. I mean, Russell, Wilt, Magic, Bird, Jordan, Kareem, Mikan. The single greatest year leading that team. Sort of turned over by a third, at the trade deadline, and they looked dead in the water in Indiana in the first round. That's what it would mean for that. For a career, again, it doesn't do for me what it might do for others. It'll immediately go to the conversation I don't want to deal with today for the most part. Jordan versus LeBron. I'm worn out with that conversation. But, Tony, in assessing this season, it seems just impossible if he does it. Standing ovation, I will stand at my press seat and applaud if he does that. Yeah,
let me, just for the sake of the people who aren't sick of the Jordan-LeBron conversation like you are, let me tell people that we know where you stand. Yeah. You are with Michael Jordan. You are always going to be with Michael Jordan.
Not necessarily, but I'm with him now.
Yeah, and LeBron is not going to overtake him for you. And I appreciate that. So I will say it. I'll try and be politic in the way that I say this. If LeBron James wins with this particular collection of players around him, in the way that he wins by dominating games and making sure that teammates get open shots, which he can do, and they miss most of them, but make a few. If he beats this team that has won 2 championships in 3 years, and the other year won 173. If he does that, to me, I would stand back and say that nobody is better than LeBron James. And that doesn't mean he's the best. This is what Tony, I would say about Tom Brady, that nobody is better than him.
That's entirely fair. A rational conversation. And let's get to this. How many games do you expect the Cleveland Cavaliers to win?
1. Let's
say Love plays in all of them to some degree.
1 or 2.
Plays none.
1 or 2, you cannot win 3 or 4. But what I find interesting and what I've read about LeBron just today is LeBron is talking about essentially being ageless, essentially that age doesn't bother him, which is very Brady-like, which is why I make the comparison with Brady. Yeah. It's very Brady-like. It's, look at me. I'm bigger than the rest, better than the rest, stronger than the rest. And it reminds me, I want to get the line right because it's a Shakespeare line about Cleopatra. Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. That's LeBron James. That's him to
Tony. There's no question, and that's the fun of it, not comparisons to me, but appreciating him and appreciating Golden State, particularly if they stay engaged, like 3 whole games in a row.
Which we don't think they're going to do.
Yeah.
As predicted right here by me yesterday, the Washington Capitals even the Stanley Cup by beating Vegas 3-2, largely on a spectacular save by Braden Holtby with 2 minutes to go in the game. Holtby stretched all the way to his right to block a shot by Alex Tuck, who is being criticized for not lifting the puck. Wilbon, are you praising Holtby or questioning Tuck?
I'm going to praise Holtby first. That's an unbelievable save. The net's open. The people are celebrating. They're already up from their seats, waiting for the red light to go on.
Because it's going in.
It's going in. And by the way, he didn't have that much time. At that point, the first thing you have to do is make the save. You got to make contact. I still have to look at it again and again and again to see if the puck was flat or on edge. You got to make contact. Like if it's on edge, it's easier to lift. Would it have been nice if he gotten it airborne? Yes, because then he's going to score.
Yes.
But, Tony, first, is the shot a perfect shot? No. But the goaltender has to be praised for making that stop.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that save for a second and I'm going to go local. Because that save permitted the Washington Capitals to go further than they have ever gone in the franchise's career. Because they didn't win. Yeah, they didn't win the last time they were in the Stanley Cup, even a game.
0 for 4 against Detroit.
So Braden Holtby has done that. And now, to go even further, if the Caps win the Stanley Cup, as I believe they will, that will rank in the DC sports pantheon of moments.
Careful.
It is right there with John Riggins on 4th and 1
the Super Bowl,
going 43 against Miami to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's there with Jason Worth hitting a home run in a playoff game, a walk-off. I know it was a game 4, but it got the
It's higher than that.
And I'll give you another one. I'll give you another one. Darryl Green, the punt return against your Bears.
Those are both ahead of them. Right. In order, it's John Riggins and then Darryl Green. Hockey, Tony. You know, we've both lived in Washington nearly 40 years, and we both know that nothing ranks with the Redskins. If you're under 20, fine. You don't even know pro football exists anymore. But if you are a certain age, our age, you can't put Holtby's up there above those other things. It's a great save.
Mike, if he doesn't make that save, they're going to lose the game, and they're probably going to lose, and they're going to lose a series. I think this is the guy.
From so optimistic to so pessimistic about the view of that game if he scored that goal.
This is the guy who was benched at the beginning of the Columbus series.
Amazing how
Didn't
long
start the first
these
two
playoff series are, Tony. We have 2 more veteran players, both Eagles, joining the Amen chorus and offering up testimony that it's no fun playing for those Patriots. The first guy, lineman Brandon Brooks, said, quote, "It's crazy that people haven't known this. It's been this way for like a decade," close quote. And Lane Johnson added, quote, "All these guys talking about, I'll take the rings. Okay, you can have your rings. You can also have bleeping 15 miserable years," close quote. Yeah. Tony, is Lane Johnson right that people are too focused on rings?
You know, I don't mind if people continue to take shots at Belichick. That doesn't bother me at all. But shut up with the rest of this stuff. Okay, shut up. Because let's quote the great philosopher Herm Edwards. I mean, you go out there, you know what your schedule is. You play to win. And if you keep winning as a consequence of that and you win a championship, then you get the ring. All right, if Lane Johnson never got a ring, I bet he would be unhappy. Now it's easy because he's got one. Now it's easy to say, oh, this stuff doesn't matter at all, and I'd rather have peace of mind and fun with my friends. But I think most athletes go out there to win every single game, and maybe we shouldn't count all the rings, Mike, but Bill Russell has 11 and it matters, and Tom Brady has 5 and it matters. Getting a ring matters, Mike. Matters.
It does matter. It does matter. Is it the only thing that matters in football when you're a lineman and you can't control the action? Tony, this is not the same as basketball.
Yes, it validates your team.
It's not the same as basketball where one player can disproportionately impact the game. Football's not that way. There's nothing Lane Johnson can do other than help keep his quarterback alive.
Yes.
Tony, they're guys without rings like Fran Tarkenton and Jim Kelly, who I think are truly great players, and they don't have rings. Yeah, I'm not going to go with the comparison.
I don't think you should be judged only on rings. But the notion that they don't matter
Well, they matter.
is crazy.
I think what Lane Johnson is saying, if I'm hearing it correctly, is the guys who have rings talk about it as if they directly were always responsible for their rings. And he's probably talking about a lot of guys who play football who have rings who are on this network and other networks because that's mostly who are hired.
Right.
And what he's saying is, you know what? You were a great player, but you didn't put that ring on your teammates' fingers. And I think that's a fair thing for a lineman or
I think you go out to win, and if you keep winning, you get a ring. He may never wear it. It may always be in a box. But every once in a while, he's going to open the box.
Oh, no question about that.
He'll open the box. This is interesting, this next story. Conference USA, which is a slapdash of a conference of 14 teams that has been a one-bid league for the last 6 years, is jiggering around its schedule to try and do something about that. Starting this season, after the first 14 league games, the top 5 teams will be grouped together, and they will play the remainder of their games against each other. Presumably, the NCAA seeding committee will see these as quality late wins and make it a multi-bid league. Wilma, don't you love this idea?
No.
Really?
And I think the people who hate this idea more than me, and it's a stupid idea, it'll be done because all the coaches who lose their jobs because they were put on the bubble a second time. Suppose you're a 4th or 5th place team in that league and you've done your deal and you need to play a patsy or two to raise your profile and get a win and give your guys a rest. Just have a moment off and know they're going to reconfigure. You just said in the previous segment, one of the reasons you play, you know what your schedule is.
To win the game. Yeah.
Fans, boosters, you don't know what your schedule is. You have no idea what college sports about planning ahead, getting the ticket, knowing what you're doing. You don't even know what's going on. This is a stupid idea, and you're endorsing it. This is a mark
planning ahead and knowing what you're doing. You sound like you're auditioning for a quality control job somewhere. This is a conference that has teams from Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee. It's all over the place, and it gets no respect. This is easy for you to talk about because your team is in a 7-bid league, because you're from the Big Ten, and you know all your also-rans are waltzing into this tournament. My school, Binghamton, is in a 1-bid league. And if we can do something to get a second bid. How many does that league get?
Conference USA's gotten 4.
They've gotten in the last 6 years, they've gotten less than 2. How does that work out? It works out to 1. So at the end of the year, the top teams
on your schedule,
they're going to get they'll get at least 2 teams in, and everybody's going to be happy as a result of that.
Everybody
so
it's
a good idea.
It's the bad idea because the coaches who are 3rd, 4th, and 5th on the bubble, they're going to get bounced out by their own conference's hand before the conference tournament.
The teams in the middle will be happy because they'll get more wins because they're playing bad teams just like they are.
Unbelievably dumb.
Let's take a break. Coming up, will an injured Andre Iguodala really hurt the Warriors against the Cavs?
And does LeBron have a real case of being better than Michael Jordan? Really? We're at least going to ask a guy who played against them both.
That's the most talk Conference USA has ever gotten on this entire network. They ought to send us a big box of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by the all-new Honda Clarity Plug-in Hybrid. It runs on electric and has gas.
Let's get back into tonight's start of the NBA Finals with a man who is part of the ESPN radio team that will be covering the game, our good friend John Barry. And John, let's start with this. How much does the current loss of Andre Iguodala matter to the Warriors team if it goes the whole series, not just one game?
Well, I think it's big. I mean, you already saw the impact in the Houston series. A guy that can defend, obviously, LeBron James. He's had many times going up against him in the finals, does a great job. And also his playmaking ability. Everybody wondering what's going on with that Warriors offense. Well, him being off the floor makes a big difference. Yes, he's not a great three-point shooter, but his playmaking ability is a big difference for the Golden State Warriors. When you play Draymond Green, Kevon Looney together, or Jordan Bell and Draymond Green, those are 2 guys you don't have to respect at that three-point line. So what that does is it takes the spacing away from the Warriors, so there's really no driving angles. And when you have Iguodala back in that game, that creates a little more spacing with playmaking. So it's big. Who knows what's going to happen? It didn't look good when he left the game back in the Western Conference Finals. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think that's a major factor if he doesn't play.
Let's focus in on LeBron for a second. You knew we'd have to do that. Everybody gets old except LeBron hasn't gotten old yet. He seems to just be defying age, says he feels like physically he's still in his prime. JB, you in the league for, 13, 14 years. You saw guys come, get old, and leave, even stars. How long can this go on with LeBron, and are you seeing any signs that he's, getting there?
Well, you've been around far longer than me.
Thank you, JB,
Can you remember a star player that was better in his 15th year than his 8th, 9th, 10th?
No.
I really can't. I've seen signs of games where he's worn down. He was worn down in Game 5 at Boston. He did put up 26 and 10 boards, but not the same player, not getting back on defense, fatigued 3-4 minutes into games, hands on his knees. But other than just a fatigue factor here and there, I just can't remember a superstar player to play at this kind of level with the amount of minutes he's played. I looked it up the other day. In the last 7 years, he's played 660 games, and that doesn't include anything with USA Basketball. So it's amazing what this guy does on a nightly basis, and he delivers.
Let's stay with LeBron for a second, because as a result of the greatness that he showed all year, and particularly in the playoffs, with not the strongest team that's ever been assembled around him, people talk more and more about LeBron James and Michael Jordan, that particular matchup. As Wilbon said, you played a long time in the league and you know players. How do you evaluate them together?
Well, Tony, you asking me this with Mr. Chicago on the show
That's right.
is very difficult.
That's right.
I know.
That's right.
You know, he's gonna tell me Craig Hodges is a better shooter than Steph Curry.
Yeah.
He's going to tell me that Rizzo and Bryant are the best corner infielders of all time.
Yeah.
Close.
The Blackhawks run a couple years ago was the greatest in NHL history. So I'll talk to you about it, Tony. Michael's out. I'll say this. Playing against Michael Jordan and LeBron James, if I had one game to play, I'm taking Michael Jordan, the greatest competitor that I think we've ever seen in sports. And I'll say 6-0 versus 3-5. Michael Jordan 6-0 in the finals. LeBron James 3-5. And that's it. And that's not taking anything away from LeBron James. 8 straight finals, what he does on a nightly basis. To be able to deliver, I mean, this is the first guy that we saw on television in high school. The expectation level, nobody had it bigger than him. And he delivers on a nightly basis. He's incredible. But for me, it's number 23. Back in the Bulls uniform.
Can I come back in the show now?
Yes, you
Can I come back on?
Yeah, because
All
you're
right,
happy now. Your head is swollen now.
Don't make it
You're
seem
happy.
like I hate on LeBron, because I don't.
No, but you love
my
Jordan.
Mount Rushmore. Russell, Magic, Michael, LeBron. What do you want me
Nobody
to do,
cares
huh?
about your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, well, everybody cares
Okay.
about my Mount Rushmore.
No, they don't.
Now, JB, the other night, I thought when they got to the finals, we could stop asking the question just for a minute about stay or go. Because if they can win with these guys and get to the finals, why go anywhere? What do you think, stay or go?
Well, they're certainly capped out. I don't know what kind of moves they can make, probably some mid-level exceptions. But where is he going to go? I mean, I hear Philadelphia. Well, what does that make Ben Simmons? How can he play off the basketball? Ben Simmons needs the basketball. L.A., why would you go out west and have to compete against now Houston, Golden State? Are they going to be better than those two teams? I think
Well, Houston,
not.
what about Houston?
Well, can you have those three guys together? I don't see that. I mean, LeBron James is not going to play off the basketball. As much as he talks about, yeah, I want another guy that can go do this and that, at the end of the day, the basketball is in his hands. And it's not going to help him to play with Chris Paul and James Harden if he stands in the corner and becomes a catch-and-shoot player, because that's not his game. I'm not saying that won't work. Maybe it would. But I don't see it. The more and more as this goes on, I think he stays in Cleveland.
So I would get you out of here, and we need it quick. Who's going to win this series, John?
Oh, I think it's Golden State. They're clearly not the same team as they were last year when they went 16-1. They're 12-5 thus far. But I just don't know how much Cleveland can score. If you take away the Toronto series where they averaged 118, they averaged 97 against Boston and 95 against Indiana. That's not going to be enough to beat the Golden State Warriors.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Let's take one last
got it,
break.
guys.
Still to come, how worried should Tiger Woods be about experiencing stiffness in his back?
And did the Rays make the right decision in yanking their starter when he was throwing no? Tony,
yes.
You know, nobody can take a shot at Bryant and Rizzo. JB and I will have to revisit this tonight here in Oakland.
He's right there with you. You're in the same spot. Punch him in the face. Now Nelson is in Oakland, where he will have another big-armed Californian thrown to him, Derek Carr. Seems like a gift for the Raiders.
Tony, it would seem like it. Wouldn't you expect the Raiders to bounce back in one of these last times in Oakland?
Yes, I would. Happy anniversary, Philadelphia 76ers. On this day 35 years ago, the 76ers completed a dominant run through the NBA playoffs by sweeping the Lakers, giving Julius Erving his only NBA championship. Moses Malone predicted undefeated postseason. But due to one loss in the Eastern Conference Finals to Milwaukee, the championship rings were inscribed 4-5-4.
Tony, if people think today's teams are greater than those Sixers with Mo Cheeks and Julius and Bobby Jones and Mo, stop, people, shut up.
Happy trails to a no-hitter for Nathan Eovaldi. The Tampa Bay starter, who hadn't pitched in the big league since 2016 because of Tommy John surgery, was lifted after 6 innings because he was on a strict pitch count. In the 5th inning, Eovaldi got a flyout, and TV analyst Dallas Braden saw Eovaldi digging into his glove and speculated he was digging into a big ball of pine tar. Somebody tell Trevor Bauer.
You know what pine tar doesn't come into impact, Tony? When players are swinging at pitches that go 57 feet. They bounced 3 feet in front of the plate, and you're still swinging, and you want me to worry about pine tar? Please.
We're running out of show, and we go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Tiger Woods went 39-33 and finished even at the Memorial despite a stiff back. Uh-oh.
Well, the 33, though, Tony, encourages you, right? I mean,
Yes.
maybe he got loosened up as the round went on. We've
Yes.
seen that. We do that. Serena Williams beat the 17th seed at the French Open today. Your thoughts?
She's either going to win the tournament or get to the finals because she's that good and she's in the cat suit. Zinedine Zidane is leaving Real Madrid as coach after 3 straight Champions League titles. Does that make sense to you?
Tony, if you win 3 straight at that level of world play, that's a drop-the-mic situation. Go and do something else. Shohei Ohtani threw a pitch 101.1 last night. You surprised?
No. He can pitch it and he can hit it, and he's making no money. This guy's great. Last one, Delaware will start offering sports betting on Tuesday. Road trip?
Will you give me the key code to your gated community so I can get in and stay over at your house before I place my bet?
It's not gated. It simply has
gated.
a fence.
Got big
We're out of
dogs
time.
and a moat.
We'll try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
People should see the moat. I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts.
Tom Howard, happy birthday. You're a kid.